And we are back with the third segment of the GSMC Basketball Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Sports Network. And in this third segment, as you all are probably used to it by now, we're going to do a quick recap of all of the NBA games that happened this weekend, because there was a lot of them. And I'm going to see if I can fit all of the important ones in as quickly as I possibly can. But for starters, let's go ahead and bring up a game that happened yesterday that I really want to talk about because I ended up watching this game, actually. The Oklahoma City Thunder, they matched up against the Phoenix Suns. They beat the Phoenix Suns 118-110. And I really wanted to highlight this game because Jusuf Nurkic had 31 rebounds. And he had 14 rebounds 6 minutes into the first quarter. And those 31 rebounds, despite him losing, breaks the Suns' record for most rebounds in franchise history. So now Jusuf Nurkic owns that record as a Phoenix Sun. And the last 4 players to ever get 30 boards in a game are Nurkic tonight, Kevin Love, which was all the way back in 2010, Charles Barkley, which was all the way back in 1996, and Dikembe Mutombo, which was also back in 96. So he is in elite company right now, being one of the very few players that was able to get 30 boards in a game. Now, this came at a loss, however, for the Phoenix Suns. Now, the Phoenix Suns, they did not have Devin Booker in this game because he went down the last game with an injury. We still have to know exactly what the injury is. It looks to be a minor injury, but he was taken into the locker room. And Bradley Beal, he was available for this game, though, and he definitely showed up. This was definitely the Bradley Beal that I know from Washington. He ended the game with 31 points, 6 assists, and 4 rebounds on 10 for 14 shooting. Super efficient from the field. They definitely needed that performance from him, but they also needed a big performance from Kevin Durant, and Kevin Durant did not show up in this game, going 6 of 15 from the field. He did have 20 points, but still, 6 of 15 shooting is not ideal. Like, if he would have hit a couple more shots, they would have been a lot closer in this game than losing by 8 points. And Eric Gordon, he also shot 6 for 15 from the field for 15 points. And Jusuf Nurkic, 14 points. Grayson Allen was 3 of 9, 8 points. And this has sort of been like the problem that I've been talking about with Phoenix. And it's like, if they don't have their offense, it's similar to Indiana. If they don't have their offense, their defense is a little suspect. And going into the playoffs, when the pressure is on them to perform on the offensive side of the ball, you need something to fall back on. And the fact that they don't have the defense to fall back on hinders them in a very major sense. Now, the Thunder, they have great offensive pieces. They have an MVP caliber player in Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. They had a Rookie of the Year candidate. Now he's not Rookie of the Year. The Rookie of the Year is 100% Victor Wembanyama. It should be unanimous at this point, but who knows? But the fact that OKC has a great team definitely helps alleviate the pressure, and the fact that they have Chet to help on the defensive end, getting a lot of blocks for the team. Even though he didn't end the game with any blocks here, so a little bit questionable given how he's super tall and lanky. But I digress. Shai Gilgeous ended the game with 35 points, 9 assists, and 8 rebounds. His game, it's very smooth to watch. Now, he's not the best of three-point shooters, but when you shoot as efficiently as he does from the field and from the mid-range, I don't really think it matters because obviously, like, in the playoffs, it definitely will matter, however, because those mid-range shots are a lot more inefficient than regular three-point shots because, like, that's just how it works in the NBA right now. And I understand that it's Shai, and Shai is a great mid-range shooter, but in the playoffs, when teams are going to be pinching that and definitely going to be stopping you from shooting that, it's not really ideal. And I say this, like, seeing Kevin Durant go and Kyrie go like 1 for 17 from the field in Game 2 against the Boston Celtics a while back. And obviously, like, that performance, they shot a lot of mid-ranges, and they missed all of those mid-ranges. So the same thing can happen with Shai Gilgeous and that type of shot selection. But I digress. And Jalen Williams, he ended the game with 22 points, 10 of 19 from the field, very efficient. Chet Holmgren ended the game 5 of 10, 14 points, 9 rebounds, and 2 assists. And everybody else on OKC, they played their part. They played their role very well in beating the Suns. And right now, I believe the Thunder, they sit up top. Yep, they are first in the Western Conference right now. Ooh, and they go up against the Lakers tonight. So we'll see if LeBron can actually nab a win going up against these guys. And I mentioned earlier that I was going to talk about the Lakers game going up against Denver, and I didn't have time to talk about it in the first segment, so I'll go ahead and talk about it in this segment. But the Lakers, they ended up losing to the Denver Nuggets again. And they lost when they were unveiling Kobe's statue, and now they lost when LeBron James broke the record in points. And it seems that the Denver Nuggets are the Lakers' kryptonite. It really seems that that's what this team is. Ever since they beat them in the bubble, this team has absolutely destroyed them in both the regular season and in the playoffs. And obviously, when you have a player like Jokic, it makes sense that they get completely destroyed. But the shots that he makes are absolutely ridiculous. And the fact that they're over Anthony Davis makes it even more ridiculous, in my opinion. But LeBron James, obviously, he was the only aspect on the court that was good offensively this game. 26 points, 9 assists, 4 rebounds. Rui Hachimura, he played well, 23 points, 10 for 15 from the field. But everyone else, obviously, didn't really show up. Austin Reeves, he was 7 for 12, so I guess he showed up, 19 points. Anthony Davis only took 13 shots and was 7 for 13 with 17 points. It is aggravating to watch Anthony Davis play. It does not make sense how he could go from scoring 40 points in a game to just going to scoring 17 points. It's almost as if he needs the media to bully him or people to beg him into playing well instead of just playing well. And it doesn't make any sense. Like, it's almost like he needs people to start telling him to try hard instead of just trying hard. And I don't understand why he does this. It happens every single time that I look at the box scores. He'll have 32 and 15 performance one game. Then the next game he'll go in and he'll have like 17 and 10. And then the next game after that he'll have 35 and 15 or something like that. And it's wash, rinse, repeat with him. And for someone like Anthony Davis, I'm just infuriated because he should be in the conversation right now as being one of the top 3 big men in the NBA. But instead, he's on the lower half of the top 10, which is, like, it's not bad, but it's disappointing for someone who's as good as Anthony Davis. And it just aggravates me. It really just aggravates me because it's going to be another year where LeBron doesn't have the help that he needs to go into the playoffs. And the Nuggets this game, they came prepared to hoop. Jokic ended the game with 35, 10, and 7. Jamal Murray ended the game with 24, 11, and 6. And Michael Porter Jr. ended the game with 25, 10, and 4. So the 3 important players ended with double-doubles on this team. And Michael Porter Jr. did not miss a single shot. So it makes total sense that the Lakers ended up losing this game because of how great the players on the other team are. And it's just too much firepower for the Lakers to work with, especially when not every single player is showing up. Like D'Angelo Russell, 6 for 13 from the field with only 17 points. And everyone else below that could not reach double digits. Spencer Dinwiddie, he's not lived up to any of the hype that these Lakers fans were expecting. He's just another guy that comes off of the bench at this point. He only had 3 points, was 1 of 4 from the field. He's not been playing well for the Lakers whatsoever. And again, it's incredibly infuriating because Spencer Dinwiddie is the type of player that could average 20 points per game, and he doesn't. Does not make any sense. Now, the Nuggets, I really like. A lot of people, like, obviously because there's LeBron on the team, like, they're afraid of going up against LeBron in the playoffs. I really don't think that the Nuggets have anything to worry about going up against LeBron or the Lakers in the playoffs, and I think it's going to be a sweep if they go up against them again. Because given how this team played, Now, let's look at some of the other important games that ended up happening this weekend. The Boston Celtics, they played the Warriors, I mentioned earlier, but they also played the Dallas Mavericks. That was Kyrie's game where he returned to Boston, and a lot of people don't like Kyrie, obviously, because especially Boston fans, because of how he snaked them and how he legitimately snaked my franchise with the Brooklyn Nets. If you're a Boston fan or if you're a Brooklyn fan, you do not like Kyrie Irving. And the Celtics, they ended up blowing out the Mavericks in this game. Everybody played well in this game against with the Boston Celtics. And on the Mavericks side, Kyrie Irving did not play well. He only ended the game with 19 points and was 9 for 23 from the field. Not a great performance coming in from Kyrie Irving. Really not. And I don't really need to touch on that game much because I already talked a lot about the Boston Celtics in the previous segment and how dominant they are. They're definitely finals bound, assuming they don't choke yet again. But this team, it really has a lot of expectations, and they really have to live up to these expectations. Now, let's see. And any other important games that happened this weekend? The Clippers, they matched up against the Minnesota Timberwolves yesterday, and the score of this game looks like it was from 1998. The final score was 89-88. The Clippers ended up winning, and obviously the Timberwolves, before going into this game, they were the number one team in the conference, and the Clippers, they are still fighting for that number one spot. They're stuck in the fourth right now. They're behind the Nuggets, the Wolves, and the Thunder. But they are obviously a competing team, and they won this game with James Harden missing every single shot he took. He was 0 for 10 from the field with only 4 points, and they still won. Granted, it was by 1 point, but they still won. Kawhi ended the game with 32 points. Norman Powell ended the game with 24 points, 9 for 13. He's very underrated because he comes off the bench and he plays for the Clippers. I will say that he is an extremely underrated guard who can definitely create good looks for the Clippers and is a very vital piece to the bench. The Paul George did not show up in this game whatsoever. 5 of 16 from the field, 15 points. Terrence Mann, 2 for 3, 6 points. And really, honestly, everybody else on this team, they really didn't show up. And it was a very, very strong defensive battle in this game because, 89-88, that is a very low-scoring game in today's league. Now, on the Timberwolves side, Rudy Gobert played 40 minutes and only had 12 points and 16 rebounds. Anthony Edwards ended the game with 27 points. Karl Anthony Towns ended with 18, 8, and 9. So obviously, these three, they did their part, they played well. It was the rest of the team that didn't play well, and the bench was a little bit shorthanded. They only had 4 players come out of the rotation for the Timberwolves. And they all didn't really shoot that well. Anthony Edwards didn't shoot that well either, 9 for 20. Granted, that's almost 50%, but still, 3 for 10 from 3 is not ideal. If you're someone like Ant, and if you're taking that many shots, you need to be hitting a lot of shots as well. Karl Anthony Towns, 7 for 18 with 18 points. Decent, but obviously, they needed more from him, and they expected more from him, given how he scored 62 points in a game at one point. You'd think that he'd provide more for the offense on this team, but I digress. Rudy Gobert, 5 of 7. And the rest of the people on the roster did not shoot that well. They really didn't. Naz Reid, 0 for 7. Mike Conley, 0 for 4. Let's see. Monte Morris, 2 for 4. Jaden McDaniels, 3 for 9. So and they shot 27% from 3. And they only hit 9 threes in this game. And it's kind of ironic because the Clippers, they ended up making 10 threes in this game and they ended up winning by 1. So that's definitely how they won the game. Obviously, this was a really low-scoring game for both sides. Definitely a game that they don't want to remember. But if we're going to talk about strictly the defensive side of the ball, I think the Clippers are in a really good spot. If they're able to hold the number one team to just 88 points, you're in a good spot. And another game that happened yesterday was the Knicks going up against the Cavs. And I bring this game up because Jalen Brunson ended up leaving the game 1 minute in due to a non-contact injury. His x-rays did come up negative, so we'll just have to see, and we'll just have to wait and see the sort of progress that he's making on his injury. But the Knicks, they need Brunson. They need him to stay healthy, and they need him to come into the lineup as soon as possible. And at the same time, they need Randall and OG Anunoby to come into the lineup as soon as possible. Now, despite being shorthanded with Jalen Brunson, they still won. They almost won by double digits against a Cavs team who has a better record than them and was actually getting talked about by the media as being a better team than the Knicks. And I completely disagree with the fact that the Cavs are a better team than the Knicks. They're not a better team than the New York Knicks. Because the Cavs, they lost to the Knicks last year in the postseason. And the Knicks have only gotten better. Not only that, now there's actual proof of the fact that the Knicks have gotten better. Because now they didn't have Brunson, they didn't have Randall, they didn't have OG, and they still won. Dante DiVincenzo ended the game with 28 points. Josh Hart played 45 minutes in this game. He does not sit out in any of these Knicks games whatsoever. And I really don't want him to sit out in any of these Knicks games because he ended the game with 13 points, 19 rebounds, and 10 assists. That is phenomenal. That is fantastic. If you have a player like that could do the dirty work for you, that is amazing coming in from the Knicks. And the Villanova boys, they played phenomenal in this game. And they are by far the most important aspect of the Knicks and the reason why they're so good. And Bogdanovic, who they recently acquired in a trade, ended the game with 20 points. So he's also a great option for scoring coming off of the bench. And when you take all of these matters into account, I think the Knicks have the best chance of beating the Boston Celtics when they're healthy, because they have a great starting lineup. They have a great rotation. They have great defense when you put in OG and Josh Hart in the lineup, and they also still have the chemistry and the offense that they need to sort of operate. I mentioned previously how the Boston Celtics, they've had better chemistry than the rest of the other teams. Well, 3 of the players on the Knicks, they played in college together, and there is no better chemistry than that, playing in college under the same coach, under the same system, all of that. And I really think that they have the best chance of beating the Celtics. But with that, we are out of time for this third segment, so now we are going to go into the fourth segment because there is a new leader in NCAA total points for basketball. And I'm sure you guys know exactly who that is, but I will be right back to talk about it after this short break.